Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing Upwork KPIs and how much money you can generate for your B2B business using Upwork. And so this data comes directly from my company, Social Sync Marketing, which is a social media marketing agency that uses Upwork to generate leads and close deals, and all of the data that we have available to us at Upwork Outbound, where we help service-based B2B businesses use Upwork to start generating revenue. And so without further ado, let's dive in. So to start, we're going to review some standard KPIs, and then we're going to jump into two potential scenarios of companies that could be on Upwork. And we're going to review the amount of proposals each one could send, the amount of leads they'd get, and the amount of clients that they would close. So to start, for KPIs, we see about a 10% message rate. That's pretty common, pretty standard. So 1 out of every 10 proposals that we submit, we will get a message from. Once we get a message from a prospect, that is what we qualify as a lead. And so 35% of those leads will book meetings with us. And I close at about 35% on Upwork. All right, and so your close percentage will vary really depending on three main factors. Number one, how good at selling and closing are you? Number two, what price point are you guys selling at? And number three, what industry are you in? Right, and so your close percentage will vary slightly depending on those. But generally speaking, you are going to close at a higher percentage when selling on Upwork because the prospect is already in so much pain. They are seeking out help, right? They already know they need help. They've posted a job seeking help. And so generally speaking, it's a lot easier to close deals on Upwork. And so now for scenario one, we're going to go over your average marketing agency. And so let's say your average marketing agency submits 100 proposals each week on Upwork. And by the way, there's more than enough demand on Upwork to do this. So let's say they submitted 100 proposals each week. That would translate to 10 leads per week. Those 10 leads would translate to 3 or 4 meetings, and the 3 or 4 meetings would lead to 1 client close. Now, you will notice there is one thing that I'm not taking into account here, and that is the show up rate, right? And that's really for one main reason. Like I already mentioned, your prospects on Upwork are seeking out your help. And so it would be very, very strange for someone to not show up to that call, right? So generally speaking, your show up rate on Upwork should be extremely high, right? We really don't deal with very many issues with the show up rates. And like I mentioned, that's for one main reason, and that is that the prospects are seeking help with their issue, right? So really the only scenario in which they don't show up to the call would be that they already hired somebody else. And if you're hopping on calls with people, shortly after messaging them, that really shouldn't be an issue. So now we're going to look at what that one deal per week would be worth to the average marketing agency. And so let's say the average marketing agency has $1,000 for their initial sale, and then their customers are each worth $2,000 over their lifetime. If a marketing agency submitted 100 proposals each week, that would translate to $104,000 in customers added, right? And $52,000 in cash collected upfront in a single year, right? And so because their clients are each worth $2,000 and they signed 52 of them, right? 1 per week. That is going to translate to $104,000 worth of customers, but not all of them are going to pay every single penny in that 1 year period, right? Some customers might order the initial sale, which is $1,000, and they might order again 3 years later, 4 years later, whatever, right? But they will have added within 1 year on Upwork $104,000 worth of customers, and they will have collected at least $52,000 in cash. Right, so that's scenario one. Scenario two is going to be an accounting firm. So if an accounting firm were to submit 200 proposals per week, which again is extremely doable on Upwork, there's way more than enough demand to submit 200 proposals per week in the accounting niche. But if they submitted 200 a week, that would lead to about 20 leads. Those 20 leads would book 7 meetings, and those 7 meetings would close roughly 2 deals. Now that is at the 35% close percentage that I was operating at, right? 7 meetings would close 2 deals. That's actually like 29% roughly. And so I know multiple accounting firms that use this pricing structure, right? So they do $500 per month. That's their pricing structure. They do 12-month billing cycles. And so their average customer is worth $6,000, but the initial sale is only $500, right? Because it's monthly pricing. And so if they were to sign 2 deals per week, right, which comes from the math we did up here, they would have added $624,000 worth of customers and collected $52,000 upfront, right? And so hopefully you're starting to see how this works, but it's $624,000 because each of their customers are worth $6,000, but they would have only collected, I'm sure more than this, but at least $52,000 upfront because each client isn't going to pay the full $6,000 in that 1 year, right? The clients they sign in January of that year, they'll pay the full $6,000. But if they sign a client in November or December, they're only going to get $500 or $1,000 out of that client in that year, right? In that calendar year, right? And so they will have added $624,000 worth of customers and collected a good amount of cash. And that's closing at about 35%, right? But let's go really conservative here. Let's say they're closing at 15%, right? Because maybe not everybody wants to lock themselves into a 12-month contract. And yeah, let's just say that. So let's say they're closing at 15%. 7 meetings then, and that comes from the math. Again, we did up here, right? The 200 proposals leads to 20 leads. 20 leads book 7 meetings. And closing at 15%, 7 meetings would equal 1 deal. Even at 1 deal per week, they would add $312,000 in their worth of customers, and they would have collected at least $26,000 upfront, right? And so hopefully, the gears are starting to turn. You're starting to realize how incredibly powerful of a tool Upwork really is. And so that's really all we've got for this video, guys. I just wanted to break down the KPIs and go over a few potential scenarios. Upwork really is an amazing tool, and my marketing agency, Social Sync Marketing, uses it to add $15,000 in monthly revenue, and the average client at Upwork Outbound adds $10,000 to their business in the first 90 days of working with us through Upwork. And so just state it one more time, Upwork's an amazing tool. And if you do want help setting up the systems and processes that we use to generate tens of thousands of dollars for ourselves and for our clients, you'll be able to book a meeting with my team and I using the link below. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.